Rightio, today we're going to be doing a top 10 ranking video of the best super trainers on the market right now, including both Western brands which you would have heard of, but also some Chinese options which you might not have seen before. So we're going to go through from 10th to 1st, give a bit of a rundown of each shoe and a justification behind the ranking, and hopefully by the end, even if you don't agree with all my picks or my kind of rankings and ordering, at least we should have a collection of some of the best super trainers out there right now. As with most things, it's probably a good idea to set a few things up. I think that we need a definition of super trainer to start off with, or a good super trainer at least. For me, a good super trainer needs to be reasonably light, so under around 270 grams in my men's size 10, 10 and a half. It needs to be reasonably protective and comfortable. I should be able to get through an entire training week, a long run, and actually feel quite comfortable, quite protected in it. So although I love shoes like the Velocity Nitro 4 and the Adios 9, they're just a little bit too slim to be able to handle a good deal of mileage. And then finally, versatility. It needs to be able to handle a good deal of pace. Doesn't need to be, sprint worthy, but it should be able to go up to kind of half marathon, marathon pace, and equally settle back into daily training pace, feeling pretty good at both ranges. I'm not going to be factoring in price or value today. I think it gets a bit too convoluted when there is such big differences in price points and trying to balance it out. How much kind of sway do I give to the price of each shoe? I think it's just easier to do a value for money video down the line, the kind of best performance to price ratios on the market. That'll happen eventually. But right now, these are just purely based on the level of performance, the kind of quality of ride, my level of enjoyment, which will be a little bit biased towards my preferences, but overall I do think it is a pretty good representation of the market at least. I reckon we're about ready to get into it. We'll start off with my number 10 pick, which is going to be the On Cloud Monster Hyper. Now admittedly, this is not the most super trainer, but for myself, this is an all-time favorite, and I know there is a big group of people out there who absolutely adore this shoe, even if it is a bit of a hit and miss shoe across the market. Secret here is the Piba foam up in the forefoot, midfoot, kind of tapering off into the heel, and the combination with the Cloud Tech here, which I think actually works, actually has a bit of a purpose. The Piba foam is giving the bounce, the rebound, and I feel like the Cloud Tech is adding a bit of a frame, a bit of structure to it, which reinforces a really nice smooth geometry, which works fantastically for long run, daily training paces, and can handle a bit of marathon effort if you really want it to. It's very stable, pretty smooth if you're getting into that Piba foam, maybe a bit clunky if you're landing in the heel, so I do understand why it's not a universal success, but for myself, this is one of my favorite all-rounder super trainers. It's probably a little bit lower on the list just because it doesn't have as much radical feel about it. It is a little bit more tamed down. Maybe it doesn't hit those kind of session paces as well as I would like. Tempo zones, marathon pace is pretty much where it's maxing out, whereas some shoes can get right down to 5-10k pace if you really push it. Really good shoe nonetheless. Love the upper, love the way that it's come together. I'm extremely keen on the update. Can't wait for that to come through probably next year, I would say. In 9th spot for me, I have another shoe which is pretty similar to the Cloud Monster Hyper, to be fair. Mark X3 from Hoka. We've got a bottom layer of supercritical EVA, quite firm. Top, we've got the Piba foam, which stretches from the forefoot into the heel. Plastic plate reinforcing the geometry here, which I think gives it a little bit more of an aggressive toe off. Turns over a bit easy, getting up to kind of half marathon pace zones. I can use it for a threshold, whereas the Cloud Monster Hyper, I'm probably leaning more tempo zones, if that makes sense. Does feel just that a little bit more poppy, which I have enjoyed. It is still very stable, it is still very controlled, but it feels equally good pushing the pace and sitting back for daily training. Really nice shoe with a nice forefoot incentive there. It's not very often that I'll buy a shoe for an upper update either, but the Mark X2, which I did most of my Ks in to be fair, did have a bit of a shocker. Really hard heel counter, super narrow fit. They fixed that with the Mark X3, and now this is pretty much the perfect kind of all-rounded shoe, maybe bar a little bit of extra weight. And again, wouldn't mind a little bit of extra Piba foam. That's always going to be the temptation there, which I think could elevate it to a little bit more of a kind of poppy, energetic ride compared to a stable, controlled ride with a bit of aggression off the toe. That's 9th spot for me. I think this is probably my favorite Hoka trainer right now. In 8th spot, I would have the Asics Super Blast 2, which admittedly I don't have on me right now. As soon as I got the Mega Blast, I kind of saw the redundancy there. Thought I'd get myself an extra $250 to spend on other shoes. So although it is a shoe which I'd include in the top 10, it's not necessarily one that I need amongst some of these other options. The reason that it is in the top 10 in the first place is the fact that it is pretty much the definer of the super trainer category. It's light, it's protective, it's punchy, it's reasonably versatile, feels fantastic when you're kind of sitting in that long run pace zone and you just need something which is protective and going to keep you ticking over. The reason that it's sitting a little bit further back in the list and has been overtaken by a few others is that for me, I do think it is a bit blocky and maybe does feel a little bit hollow to some people, including myself, with the foam not having as much kind of squish and rebound, as much engagement as some of these other options, which we will chat about soon. The foam is definitely punchy, it's definitely energetic, but it's a little bit abrupt, and that can make the shoe feel like a bit more of a kind of shell rather than a nice, soft, engaging platform, which really is kind of encouraging you to strike in certain ways and take advantage of the geometry. The Super Blast is almost just light enough and responsive enough that you can run, but it's not doing anything extra to kind of catch you and kind of really engage you in the run. So yeah, for me right now, Super Blast 2 does still earn itself a top 10 spot, but slipping back a little bit in the pack, there are some nice shoes coming through with a little bit more of a kind of fun feel to them. In at 7th spot for me, sitting just above the Super Blast 2, I would have the Evo SL, which I think is mainly down to a little bit more of a nimble feel, bit more ground feel underfoot, and a little bit of a lighter weight, which I think does turn over a little bit smoother for my daily training and long run paces. Really nice rocker here, smooth geometry. The foam has that nice rubbery, meaty rebound, which we've come to love from Light Strike Pro. I think it's one of the nicer feeling long run shoes that I've tried. I think it works really nicely, settle into a rhythm, allow the shoe to just carry you through. The one caveat I'll give is that although it does push into that kind of zone 3 tempo zone marathon pace pretty easily, half marathon pace and above, I have struggled with this one. I think it comes down to the rocker geometry here, which has a bit too much flexibility, which means that I kind of lose a fair bit of the force that I'm putting into the shoe. I think I need it to be one or the other. I need it to be stiff and rockered, or I need it to be flat and flexible. I can't have this kind of halfway point where I get halfway through the rocker and then kind of lose that leverage just as I'm about to push off. It does give me this feeling that I'm sinking a bit of extra energy into the shoe and not getting it back in results on the pavement. And so for me, it doesn't have quite as much versatility as these next couple, which we will chat about. Almost perfect, I think, other than the upper. That's probably one of the things which is, again, holding it back. A little bit baggy, a little bit sloppy there, but for 240 bucks, you can't complain too much. Really simple, effective super trainer. Maybe a little bit overhyped at first. I do think it is slowly settling back into the spot where it belongs as that kind of fun-loving, everyday super trainer. Definitely is an upgrade over your standard daily plotter. For me right now, I do think it earns that 7th spot pretty happily in the top 10. In at number 6, I would have the Mount to Coast H1, which I would say is one of the most high-quality, well-rounded shoes that I've used in the past couple of months. Fantastic upper, awesome midsole foam, which is punchy and energetic. Almost a bit of an upgrade over Light Strike Pro, honestly. It's got a bit more aggression, but it still has that kind of deep, structured feel to it. A little bit of a flatter geometry, I think, enables a bit of a pacier pickup. More stable base as well, with a fantastic CPU rubber, I believe, which is grippy enough on the trails, but also handles the road without feeling too clumpy. I think that it's fair to say that this is the most all-round versatile shoe that I've used, being able to handle both sessions, kind of half marathon pace and even below to a decent degree. Sitting back for the long run, if you have a decent level of leg strength, this level of protection should be enough. I think it's about 36 mil of foam, but it feels like more with the way that the foam responds. And then you should be able to take it on the trails as well. So in terms of the overall level of kind of applications of this shoe, I think it's the most versatile, and I think it's the one that does everything the best, or to the best degree, I would say. Really high quality product. Feels like they haven't left anything on the table. They're not kind of hiding any cards away, getting you to wait to the next year or upgrade to the newest model. This just feels like a purpose-built shoe, which is meant to be great and is great, and I absolutely love it. 6th spot, very tempting to put this in the top 5. For me, just missing out on that spot. Really fantastic shoe, highly recommend giving it a look. Into the top 5 for me, these are getting a little bit more serious now. The last 5 I would say are a bit more interchangeable. Could happily swap them around 1 or 2 spots or bring in other shoes, but these top 5 I'm a bit more solid on. With that, number 5 spot for me is going to the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 3. This has got next to no recognition on the internet. I have no idea why. It feels brilliant. Top layer of Mizuno's NEZ XP foam, which is a nitrogen-infused TPEE compound. Super squishy, super bouncy, really nice smooth compression to it. They've reinforced that with a half nylon plate, which is a little bit more flexible, a little bit more friendly, makes it feel a bit more approachable for your everyday daily training paces. But the rebound of the foam carries this shoe well into half marathon zones for me. So very versatile, if maybe a little bit unstable at some of those top end zones, but plenty enough for most of my training. Bottom layer of EVA foam even feels better than most brands' kind of standard training foams. I think Mizuno has one of the best catalogs of foams right now. They've got the Energy XP, the TPEE. They've got some fantastic EVAs which feel very fun and engaging. They've got the new supercritical PEBAs. It just feels like whatever they do, it comes across nicely. This is just another great example. It's protective, it's compressive, it's really smooth, and a really nice poppy rebound off the front of the shoe. Maybe lacking a bit of aggression on the toe off, which I think is okay. I think that most of the bounce comes from the kind of sweet spot in the heel. I don't think we really need so sharp of a rocker up front. I think that might become a little bit too much of a hassle for daily training paces. So I think everything's kind of balanced in a way which comes across very, very nicely. I don't know why this one hasn't got the recognition it deserves. One of the best trainers that I've used this year. If you're looking for a shoe to pick up on Black Friday, which will probably have sizes left over, this is the one to go for, not getting anywhere near the respect that it deserves. In fourth spot, I would have the Li-Ning Fadian Challenger 4, which I would say is probably the quickest out of all the super trainers here. Can probably hit the highest top speed the most comfortably with a dual layer PEBA midsole. Carbon plate in there to give it a bit more stiffness through the geometry. 5-10K pace and beyond, this feels great. But it also manages to settle back into daily training and long runs with enough comfort that I think most people can get by. Top layer of softer PEBA foam I think is the secret here. The geometry is not particularly flexible, but the way that the foam compresses and eases you down into the midsole, I think it comes across friendly enough. I stepped into a 38K long run out of the box with this one and it did not disappoint. Despite the fact that it's only about 36 mil of foam in the heel, it still has plenty of protection, plenty of rebound, plenty of guts to get you through a whole variety of sessions. Super light as well. I think it's coming in around 220 grams, so as light as a racing shoe with a little bit more padding in the heel. Thicker outsole, although that is wearing down a little bit quicker. The grip has been good, but it is wearing down a touch faster than I would like to see, but overall, fantastic shoe which you can pick up really, really cheap. If you're looking for a faster shoe which can handle daily training, this is the one to go for compared to a mileage shoe which can potentially pick up the pace. This is the other end of the spectrum. Really, really love this shoe. Starting to see a few reviews pop up around YouTube, getting a bit of the recognition that it deserves. Into the top three. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know the kind of three that are left over. Question is, what is the order of them? It's going to be the KD 900 X2 for third spot. This was an absolute shock to me. I thought this was going to be a budget racing shoe, something with probably a firmer PEBA foam and a flat geometry, something that feels okay if you put a bit of pace into it, but otherwise is a bit harsh and a bit kind of uncomfortable underfoot. Couldn't have been more wrong. Firstly, not really a racing shoe the way that it comes across. It's too flexible and friendly and bouncy and soft and comfy to be classified only as a racing shoe. With an aliphatic TPU midsole, it just completely blew me away. It's got the compression, it's got the rebound, it's got the more flexible, fun-loving feel which you expect from a training shoe. But what's weird is that even though, again, it's a little bit of a flatter geometry and a little bit lower stacked compared to some of these others, the level of compression that you get from the foam is enough that it feels protective to go long, to go fast, to cruise along for your daily training. It just has everything that you need. Maybe if it's a little bit long, the upper sizing is a bit weird, so I could probably have gone a half size down and still been comfortable, but I wouldn't be too concerned. The feel underfoot is just brilliant, magic bounce. Aliphatic TPU is taking over, I'm telling you now. Kip runs into it, Asics is into it, Puma's had it for a while, Hoka's experimenting with it in the Rocket X Trail. I think Saucony's got something on the go. New Balance, I've heard rumors with the New Balance 1080 V15 having a TPU, probably got aliphatic on the way. It's just taking over. It's so much fun. The bounce just keeps on coming back. Really, really fun shoe. If you like a bit more of a flexible ground feel shoe, but want that kind of fun super shoe level bounce, this is the shoe to chase. Maybe it doesn't have the kind of aggression when you get up into 5 and 10K pace of a true racing shoe, just with the flexibility of the carbon plate. It doesn't quite have that focused appeal. It feels like the bounce is a little bit all over the shop, but it is fun, it is friendly, and I've been a massive fan so far. Third spot for me, 180 bucks in Australia as well. I know the price isn't factoring in here, but just alerting you to the fact that it is so cheap. This is a brilliant pickup if you're looking for that fun, friendly all-rounder. I think this is releasing next year in the US and Europe, so keep an eye out for that. this is an all-time great super shoe, came out of nowhere. Getting into the top 2 now, you probably know what's left. For me, second spot is going to go to the Asics Mega Blast. Now, don't come at me saying that this is a fraud shoe or that it doesn't live up to the hype. This is still one of the best shoes that I've ever tried. The thing is that we've just managed to get a shoe which somehow overtakes it within the space of a couple of weeks. This is still one of my favorite shoes. It's extremely propulsive, explosive off the front of the shoe with a late stage rocker, stiff geometry, really broad, stable base at a ridiculously light weight. This is what the Super Blast 2 could have been for me. A little bit more engaging in the foam, a bit more sink in, a bit more pop back. It feels like there's a bit more substance underfoot, which I really, really enjoy, and hence why I've sold off the Super Blast since. This is pretty much the perfect all-rounder with a really pacey feel, which makes running feel easy, keeps the legs feeling fresh, up-tempo long runs, daily training. I can take this for sessions as well. Although my criticism of the Super Blast 2 was the fact that it is bulky, and this is still a big shoe, broad base. The fact that the foam is so much more engaging and so much more kind of fun just makes it feel that little bit easier to step on the gas and get up to kind of half marathon, even 10K pace. Honestly feels pretty decent in this one. Upper is garbage, I'll concede that. It's a bit too narrow, it feels cheap. I imagine the profit that they're making off this shoe would be next level, with aliphatic TPU being remarkably cheap to produce, pretty simple with a one-piece midsole as well. The fact that they're charging $340, moving it up to $360 next year with no change in design is absolutely absurd, and I will keep on talking about that as long as it continues. This is a shoe which could easily be released for $240, $250. Puma's already done it with the Velocity Nitro 4 for $180. Other brands are going to be bringing aliphatic TPU in very, very soon. Yeah, that's my big complaint there, but the actual ride here, if you can pick it up on sale, or if you've already got a pair, don't be disheartened. You have got one of the best shoes on the market ride-wise, but there is a bit else going on, which I do think can impact the kind of buying decision making. Fantastic, punchy, explosive ride, stable, comfortable. Maybe the one chink in its armor is that it doesn't feel quite as friendly at recovery paces as some of these others in the top 5, but the kind of level of performance at those other kind of use cases makes up for it and makes this one of my favorite shoes ever. That brings us around to the best super trainer on the market right now. Probably the best mileage shoe on the market, to be honest. The best shoe that I've ever tried, the Xiaonian from Dynafish. This is ridiculously good, and even if you haven't seen it before, I do think you will be seeing more of it on the internet. It's one of those ones that's so good that it kind of transcends from the Chinese market into the Western space without having to force it. This is just brilliant. It's super smooth, super comfortable. It's coming in at 209 grams, which makes it the lightest shoe of all of the other models that I've mentioned here, which is just ridiculous. Very, very protective. It's got this kind of seamless transition with the beveling and the compression of the foam, which makes you feel like you're not even really striking the ground. You're more just kind of morphing onto it, cycling the legs over without the kind of impact or kind of abrupt forces that you feel from some of these other super trainers, which I do still very much love. Very smooth, very efficient, extremely light, doesn't bottom out, doesn't die out. You might expect from the kind of softness of the foam at first that it will become too mushy, but at pace, getting into a bit of that kind of up-tempo zone 3, getting into kind of marathon pace, it holds its structure, it holds its rebound, and it just doesn't seem to die out no matter how much force you put into it or how long you spend on feet. This is lighter than a lot of super shoes out there, like the Adios Pro 4, Cloudboom Strike, Alpha Fly. It's about the same weight as a Deviate Nitro Elite 3, which is very, very impressive. And it means that even though it's not the most aggressive in its geometry, that light weight, the rebound that you get from the TPEE, and just the fact that it is so smooth, mean that you can pick up into half marathon, even 10K pace to a decent degree, even if it doesn't feel as kind of poppy and kind of in your face. It's more of a kind of smooth, subtle sensation. I do think it can handle a good deal of pace as well. Fantastic shoe, easily the best on the market right now. As a super trainer, as a mileage shoe, absolutely brilliant. I think this is going to become extremely popular. They're going to sell hundreds of pairs of these. This is the kind of shoe that you stock up on. You get 2 or 3 pairs and you just keep using it for years to come. I can't see any Western brand doing anything to rival this anytime soon when they're charging $360 for aliphatic TPU. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Great stuff. Easily the top of the tree right now. Let us know if you've heard of it. Let us know if you've tried it. Check out my review if you want to see why I love it so much and just hear me ramble on for, another 15 minutes about how much I love it. So yeah, that's my top 10 ranking. Let us know what you reckon. How would you go about ranking the top 2 or 3 for yourself? Have you tried any of these shoes, especially the Xiaonian? Can you share any thoughts there? Be pretty interested to see what you have to say. More videos like this coming. Let us know if this was enjoyable, whether this was useful, or whether you want to see another format or another kind of topic discussed in this same way. That's about it.